Alright, welcome to Raising Funds for World Domination, day number 213. So it's time for the daily update. It's the weekend, so predictably there's no updates on the presumed appeal. I've still not submitted the appeal yet for the Shopify Store. Maybe I'll work on that tomorrow. Today I worked on for the third part marketing video. I made a thumbnail for that, and actually I didn't do a whole lot of other things. Had some errands, exercise, emails. So other than that, we got there's one final part to the marketing video series that's scheduled to go out. Or it's not scheduled, it will be. I'll probably put that out maybe 3 weeks or so in the future. And otherwise, we will continue with the development of the terminal block mining simulation game. Oh yeah, I guess the other interesting thing was yesterday I tried out. Someone asked about if the block mining game works in Termux, which I've never used it before. But Termux, I guess, is an app. It's a terminal application for mobile phones. So I tried it out in there, and I had to disable the JNI library on it, but so it would not respond to window resize events, which is not really a big deal. But I was kind of surprised to see that it actually worked. It just immediately worked perfectly. All the inputs were correctly received, and actually, honestly, it worked. It looked better. The default colors in Ubuntu are not the default black and green are not really high saturation, but it makes it actually looks a bit better on the phone. Okay, so today I also pushed the recent changes I've been doing to the block mining game. Mostly these are all just things that functionally don't change anything. Well, actually, it has functionally changed a couple things. It's made it so if you open two windows or two frames of the exact same thing, then it'll be a bit more consistent behavior between them. And I'm doing this in preparation for adding some kind of support for like a local split screen multiplayer, so you could actually have like the client could be opened with two different connections to the world through two different players. So let's try that, make sure it works. Solopreneur nightmares. I guess that's waving emoji. Mr. Gary Busey 2052 says hello. How's it going? So the game builds, that's good. So the next thing, there's a few more events I could change. So I guess the only thing this class needs is the player position. I guess to generalize this, to make this work with multiple player positions, this will have to be like a set or a map of player positions. So I'll have to make this into a I'll have to count Okay, that's the player coordinate. I guess once I fix this up, then I can remove that null check. How's the game coming along? It's coming along bit by bit. I think it seems relatively stable, and it works and renders and stuff, which is top priority. Kirby 9373. Welcome to the student tier. Excellent. Did you say you're laying foundation for multiplayer block mining? Yes. So I actually had, so I do even have like a network-based stack for sending the all of the like the sending of block updates and like reads and writes. I already do have like a multiplayer, like you could call it client, but it has the way it works right now. There's no distinction between like the different players. So basically, you can actually start two players, two clients, but what'll happen is in the database it'll just save whichever client was the last one to send like a position update or remind something. That's the one. It only has one place where it actually stores the data for the current position, but that part is easy to generalize. I'm going to have probably when you connect to the world, there will be one like initial message, and it will be I'm not sure what I call it, but you can I think of it like almost like something to do a DNS request or something. So when you connect to a world, you'll basically ask the database, or you'll ask the server, where do I, what block address do I find my inventory at? Where do I find like all my information? And then it'll say, okay, your inventory is here. Right now there's only like two. There's really only two pieces of game information: the player stored remembered address and the player inventory. And those are just stored at some hard-coded locations. But yeah, right now I'm doing. I'm just kind of refactoring some of the design flaws that exist with the user interface. So right now the user interface is not really smart enough to represent two different players. Thinking about possibly making my own game as well. Yeah, it's a good way to test the waters with programming and test new ideas. Although it's actually making a game of any like meaningful significance is quite a bit of work. Lots of people have grand ideas to make the next Grand Theft Auto or something on their own, but the amount of hours it takes to do that is just so significant. Okay. So one of the first things I need is this thing. Need to extend the same thing that this does. What OS will the game run on? Right now, I've only tested it on Ubuntu Linux, so then that's my pledge to support this platform. I have not tested it on any other platforms. I guess theoretically, it's probably not too difficult to get it running on Windows, but I've done absolutely no testing to see what probably the J and I. Well, you can disable that, but yeah, just Linux for now. Somebody anonymous says friendly greetings. Hello and/or goodbye. You're not quite sure. Think more of an educational game for school. Educational game. I guess there's lots of ways. There's lots of different directions you could take that idea in. Run it on Ubuntu, but if someone has access to WSL, might run there as well. Yeah, it would probably run on Windows subsystem for Linux. I would assume probably a lot of other Linux distributions it would work on. My guess is I don't know if anyone's ever tried to run it on a Mac, but it would probably either just work, or there would be like one, like maybe I don't know. There's a couple of places like where I get the width of the terminal, like I'm running T-put calls or something. And if there's like some small incompatibility with that, that'll just break everything. Is it hard to program games for different operating systems? Hard is maybe not necessarily the right word. It's maybe a bit more like tedious. It depends on how you design it. It requires making things a lot more. You have to be a lot more thoughtful in like the architecture of how you do things. So you would have to have like, successive layers, like the certain kinds of event models and stuff, like for window resizing. I don't know the window resizing event for Windows, but there's probably like a totally different API and stuff, and it might the way you set the API up and do callbacks and stuff might be totally different. So you would have to design like some, in your game. Ideally, in your game itself, you don't want a million things as like if it's Windows, do this, otherwise do this other thing. You'd want to have like a compatibility layer that just has some something agnostic, and then some lower part of it is like, receiving the signals or trying to abstract away some of those implementation details. But inevitably, some of them will leak through. Like for this, I have a JNI library, and if you try to run this, like for the precompiled jars that I have, if you try to run it on a system that doesn't support that like binary interface, then it'll just crash immediately. So if you run it on Windows or something, it just won't work. Okay, that's step one. So for this, I need to implement this. try that. I'm picturing basically a single computer game that can teach young children the basics of good security practices. I don't know. There's a lot of ways you could go with that. You mean just like avoiding phishing attacks and stuff, or like computer security? There's a lot of ways that people need to be secure these days. You know, under membership perks on YouTube, I can see that this gives me a license to play block mining game. Yeah, that was when I first set up the memberships. That was one of the I had to actually add something there that would. And then actually, I think one thing is like wallpapers. I still haven't actually made any wallpapers, but actually there's some stuff. A side project I have that I might be able to come up with something to satisfy that promise. On UI event notification. All right. Miles. Pretty much, I'd say both kids usually make an online account for 10 or younger. They should be taught the basics. 10, that's pretty young, I guess. Is it for like a school thing? Is this your first game? Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, I guess it definitely, I've never written a game. I mean, you could even call this not a game because it's still pretty abstract and basic. If it can be fun and educational for adults as well, that's a bonus. Yeah, I don't know. I think that it's really difficult to do both. You can. It's far simpler to make a game fun or to make a game educational. To make it both is a tall order. I mean, it's doable though. Okay, so this thing needs the update. Needs the subscription player position subscription update. And now I should probably rename this class. In general, Roblox, Steam, Gmail, etc. You mean like examples of games that are fun and educational? Gmail. I don't know how Gmail fits into that list. Do you use AI to help code ever? So far, I really have not. I did try it on a couple occasions, and the results it gave were kind of underwhelming. There were a few cases where I asked it to do, like a lot of times if I add a new message type or something, I'll just copy and paste an existing one and then modify a couple of things to make it do what I want. And there were a couple of cases where I'd say something like that, like make me a new message, or like a function that's like this other thing but with these modifications, and it can do that pretty well. So eventually I probably will integrate it into my workflow, but right now I've the only time of day that I've spent coding recently is in these evening streams, and I just have not had time to mess around. I have looked into setting up the integrations. Actually, that's why the original reason why I started learning IntelliJ was because I thought it was like the latest and greatest. And I had been away from IDEs for years, but there's quite a few really significant bugs that made it a lot harder to develop in IntelliJ. And also there's a plugin for Claude Code, and every time I look back at it to see if it's like working well now, it has a ton of reviews that say it's like the integration is broken, and so I guess I've been kind of just on the sidelines until they get the integration stuff figured out. That's wrong. It's loading in the wrong direction. It's supposed to load whatever's closest to the player. So that must indicate that it's not actually subscribed. It's not sending the player position updates. So that means that it never gets inside of the init function. Well, that actually might be because when the thread is launched, there's nothing to call its init method. Yeah, so part of this whole thing here is why I'm doing some of this refactoring, because there's a whole bunch of synchronization issues. So I should not be calling, ideally, I should not call these init methods directly. Because the init method is called within the context of this a thread that's setting this up. And this has been a source of bugs and race conditions. Now I'm wondering is this thing's init method even called? So if this does not crash and throw that exception, that means the other thread doesn't even get its init method called. Yep, just as I suspected. I wonder if I can use templating with this. I've never tried to template this way, but let's see if this does what I want. I think there's no way this is going to work. Nope, it doesn't work. Basically, I want to keep my type safety on the work item queues for different threads, but in some cases I want to have like generic work items that I can send to all the threads, like the instruction to initialize oneself. Otherwise I could just manually create them, but all right, let's just copy and paste code. That's what I expected. So this is now calling its init method. That should also be another event type. The concurrent viewers is low tonight. People are not interested in block mining coding. Okay, this should call the init method now of the in-memory chunks thread. There we go. Right, looks like that is working better. I think the initialization is too. Okay, that looks good. Oh, nice. A surprise super chat from James Goodrich. How's it going? You're not here? But you already gave yourself away. Thank you for the $10. Can you do a full pull-up, Robert? That's a good question. I haven't been in a gym in years. I used to be pretty, like when I was in high school. And actually I kept that up until about probably about halfway through, or I think it was into second year. I got up to, there was a period where I was doing about 200 push-ups a day. I think I started around like 50 or something, and then I was just like, you know what, I'll just add one push-up per day, and I did that every day for however many days, and I got up to like 150, and then I found that once I got to like the 150 point, I was able to just continue up to 200. And in addition to that, I used to be able to do a handstand for 1 minute 30 seconds. But around probably, I think it was around, I guess it would be 2011. That's when I stopped maintaining that, and I've not verified my ability to do those physical feats. Should have started bench press. I did go to the gym at Waterloo for like a little period, but the problem is it takes. I have a workout routine. I do every other day. But to go to an actual gym, I have to like physically go out, and it's just takes too much time. It's better when like even with my routine, I find that like some of the time when I try to actually start at 10 p.m., but sometimes I'm late, and it's because I'm finishing up from working out or trying to get my daily post in. But my current workout routine is if you see my how to become a 37-year-old broke loser video, the dumbbells in that video, I do 4 sets of the following. About like 20 curls, and then 10 push-ups, 10 sit-ups. I use the weights to keep my feet down. And then 10 of, I don't even know what it's called, but it's just like squats where I hold the weight. Like I kind of squat down on one foot, and then I forget the name of the exercise, but it's one that Arnold Schwarzenegger said it was one of his favorite exercises for, like, I don't know, defining some like shoulder muscle. So it's where you have like your arms like that and go up like that with the 25-pound weights. Okay, a bunch of chats showed up. Should have started bench press to be very strong for sure. I was I think I definitely like came across as athletic, at least like in terms of my upper body in high school, but I've gone downhill since then. Good morning, Elder. Monday's back at ye old office. Hope you have a wonderful day, my brother. Yep, ye old office. Yeah, thank you for the kind words. No gym necessary. 250 push-ups converts 225. One RM max bench. 1 RM. I don't understand that metric. 225, 1 RM max. Like one rep of lifting 225 pounds. If I was rich, I wouldn't mind actually having like a coding. Like it'd be nice to just code in a gym. So like when I want to just take a break and space out for a second, I can just like walk over to like lift some stuff up. But I have not maintained my ability to do those things at all. Okay, so I think I now have an initialization work item for the console writer thread. So now let's try that. So now it will initialize itself from within the thread context, which will eliminate a number of bugs. And I got a bunch of synchronization issues here. All right, let's try that. See if that works. £225, 1 rep max. 2 plate bench. Progressively overload galore. Yeah, I mean, it'd be fun to get into that stuff, but it takes equipment and time. But who knows? Once I raise the $12 billion, then I think I could maybe dip into that fund a little bit, buy some exercise equipment. It's also not really ideal to have that in an apartment. Excellent. This looks like it's working. No equipment, just time and effort. But if you want to actually physically bench 2 plates, you need the plates. And you need a bench. Okay, that's it for initializations. For initializing those threads. Bench is stupid, not actually important, if not available. Calisthenics go very far away. Yeah, but it's nice to actually have the physical equipment though. Actually, I don't even know the definition of calisthenics. I've heard of that word. I know it's related to exercise, but now there's still some more this event nonsense to figure out. But one particular source of a lot of problems in bootstrapping this is bootstrapping this client server interface. Not really sure why I had this down here as opposed to up here. Calories, then exercise to develop strength and flexibility. They're done without special equipment. Oh, okay. Yeah, I think my my existing routine works pretty decent. In the actually in the summer, I usually alternate. I'll do the weights. I exercise about every other day, and then I'll do the weights one time, and then in the summer I usually every other time I'll go out for a run instead. But then in the winter time I just do weights every time. Yeah, makes sense. Although ideally, I'd like to. Well, actually, I was able to. That's actually one of the reasons I wanted to go out for the walks, because I've been, reflecting on the last few years. I've been inside. Like when I was younger, I used to go out more and do way more stuff, but now I just work all the time, stay inside. There's probably like muscle groups that I don't even like think about, that I haven't used in a long time. And I kind of feel that now if I go out for a hike and like go up like a hill or something and use a muscle I haven't used in a while. Human body is amazing at adaptation. Will surprise you. This capability, once effort is applied. Yeah, it is pretty amazing what humans can do. Especially when like you put when you take away the phones of a human and you force them to not have internet access. Like lately I've been seeing all these videos about the pyramids and stuff and how they built them. And they're looking at these things like these simple like drills and stuff. They had drilled holes in stones. They're like, wow, this is so amazing. It requires like alien technology and stuff. Like, no, I don't think it does. You just take like 1,000 humans and put them in a place where they have no phones. And the only thing they have is like rocks. And eventually people will just figure out. They can like, find a really hard rock and rub it on the other rock in the right way to cut through it. With no phones, only bench press remains. Yeah, that's how they built the pyramids. They had no phones, so they just got super bored. They're like, hey, let's bench press these rocks, and then they got so good at bench pressing rocks. They're like, you know what? Why don't we just pick these rocks up and make a pyramid? So ideally, I could maybe get rid of this thing here. Should make a video on that so that those with phones can learn how to make a pyramid. That's a good idea, but then nobody would actually make it because they're just busy watching videos about pyramids. Max bench is Julius Maddox, 872 lift. Similar to one block section. Oh, is that so the world record holder for a lift is about one pyramid block? That seems like it would check out. Could call it how to make a pyramid. First, get a rock, then bench press the rock. Now you've got a 1,000 foot tall pyramid. With AI bench pressing, yeah. There's those were a whole viral theme for a while. People were really raking in the views on those. For some reason, that's something I've been seeing a crazy amount of lately. Is like stuff to do with the pyramids. I was just recent fascination with the pyramids and aliens. It's always like humans could not have done this. It was always aliens. Honestly, if I was physically building the pyramids back then, I'd be kind of insulted that people are like, nope, you couldn't even do it. You had to have help. Maybe this will be the solution. If I move those init methods. If I substitute those with work items, then maybe Should do a react video to Pumping Iron movie about Arnold Schwarzenegger. That'd be kind of random. But I guess it probably would get views. But then again, if it's anything copyrighted, you'll get copyright striked. I think I might be able to improve this. So maybe the init method. The init method will receive that'll be the work item that starts the thread, but it receives either the server or the client, respectively. Golden hat reel says $14 equals $585. That's a lot. $585. What country is that? Or what country's currency? Once you start your natural bodybuilding arc, views on the channel will blow up. Yeah, that'd be kind of random. It seemed like I would like to keep the channel focused on, technical stuff, but it kind of seems like something that people want is they want to see, like, the character on the channel get into different situations and then see how that person reacts to those situations. So that would be there's probably some group of people who would wonder, like, what is this person that sits in front of a computer all the time? What are they like? What do they look like lifting weights or in a gym? But they would only want one or two videos, because then after that it gets boring. It's too late to start anything new tonight. I had beans on corn tortillas and some bananas for dinner. What did you have today? That sounds good. Sounds very delicious, by the way. I had half of a frozen pizza, pepperoni pizza, which was good. Is that duplicate code? Yeah, this duplicate code doesn't need to be there. What about the connect with it? Now, did that break anything? All right, that works perfectly. That is good. All right, I made a little bit of progress tonight on refactoring the flow of events. There's still a few more events that I can probably refactor. Actually, oh man, there's a lot of these. I have a lot of work items. Right, that's another one. I'll probably put it into an enum. Actually, I don't know, there's a lot of these. I guess maybe I'll just do them slowly over time. That one's probably a good candidate. Oh yeah, this was another corner case. Because right now there's only one. I've only written it to make sense for one map area. But in reality, if there can be multiple on-screen player connections, then there can be multiple map areas that may not even be the same. That'll actually become relevant once I add the ability to have two different players on screen that are at different locations in the map. Right now this is not a bug because the math is basically the same. Like it's finding the closest chunk to initialize. But since both maps represent the same area, it doesn't really matter. But actually, there's going to be a different client. There's going to be a different client class for each player. So but I guess if I only have one chunk initializer thread, it still will need to disambiguate. All right, that'll be it for tonight. We'll be back again tomorrow night for day 214. All right, have a good night, guys.